abductees as human shield. And that story is on page 2. Suspected header experts warn on multiplicity of security agencies at Nigeria's airports. Fake PFIPC Director General Adeyemi to be arraigned on Tuesday, and that story is on page 25. Reps opposition lawmakers demand extension kicks as INEC due pressure. Why we moved candidates submission till tomorrow, and that's from INEC. That story is on page 22. And lastly, on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune this morning is a story on page 4. It says, new nose spray DNA vaccine to change where tuberculosis is treated, according to a study. Before taking the inside pages on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, we also have the picture of Professor Wole Alamu. That's the husband of Mrs. Rachel Alamu, the just rescued principal, Community High School, Aoru Esiele, in Owerri local government area of Oyo State, and others during the family Thanksgiving service at Ogbomosho yesterday. It was indeed a joyous moment for the families and, of course, all Oyo State residents. Taking some of the inside stories on page 2, we also have a picture of the body of Lieutenant Felix Adere Isaac, who died during the operation to rescue the abducted pupils and teachers in Owerri local government in Oyo State. Is being carried for burial at the 23 Armored Brigade Cemetery, Yola, Adamawa State on Friday. We have the picture there. May his soul rest in peace. And of course, we also respect and honor his sacrifice for the country. Thank you so much. Moving on to page 3, what we want from government, and that's coming from Owerri community. CAN organizes Thanksgiving for kidnapped victim Alamu in Ogbomosho. Speaker Tajuddin, CAN NUT commend rescue of Owerri abductees, still on page 3. And moving on to business and economy, and that's on page 6. IMF projects higher prices for essentials in Nigeria in 2026, says development to further aggravate poverty, food insecurity. How importation, high interest rates, stall growth of small industries in Nigeria, and that's according to experts. Eman laments losses, exclusion from national single window, no formal communication from importers, and that's coming from the national single window. That's all on business and economy. Moving on to energy, Nigerians should adopt mini-grids to end $14 billion annual expenses on self-generation. And that story is on page 16. Still on the same page, Minister calls for shared accountability, transparency, protection of power assets. TCN, NSCDC partnered to combat vandalism, right-of-way encroachment. All stories on page 16. More stories on page 24. Human trafficking. Makinde reaffirms commitment to reintegration of returnees. Set to train 700 returnees youth in agribusiness. Atiku condemns increase in WAEC NECO fee. Reform without compassion becomes punishment, and that's coming from Atiku. UCJ, UI celebrates Laolu Akonde on 2026 Voice of Truth Award. Fake agency Adeyemi to be arraigned on Tuesday. New tax laws. KJIRS moves against illegal highway revenue collection, and that story is on page 25. And on page 28, over 5,000 recruit soldiers to commence training at Depot Nigerian Army, Oshogbo. And on sports page, on page 31, Besiktas eye Terem Murphy. Getafe boss boosts Uche. Nwoko urges corporate Nigeria to invest in athletes. NFF commends Tinubu over CAF Congress hosting. And lastly, we have Nigeria wins FIBA under 18 Afro Basketball Zone 3 Championship And that's much we have on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. But before I hand over to Florence, we have a commercial break. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Super Malt Multivitamin Active Teens. Super Malt Multivitamin Active Teens. Shine on.
And the best student in basic digital literacy is Jadin. Very good. And the best student in kinesthetics is Jamil Lawal. The best student in robotics is Tiara Kolawole.
That's my girl! Hey! That's my girl!
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
All right, welcome back. We're taking you through the newspaper review, and I have with me Vanguard newspaper this morning on the front page. The trending story: our arrest of kidnappers, family members led to rescue of victims. Our children may not return to school, says Orire parents, and this is on page 6. On the financial parts of the Vanguard, we have bank/lending caught 5.4 trillion naira across key sectors: oil cartels, tanker operators, enforcement agencies blamed for Apapa Kirikiri gridlock. And that's how much we have on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Checking stories inside of the Vanguard. On page 5, federal government raises WAEC NECO fees to 50,000 naira per candidate. SSCE fees increase is too high, says NAPTAN. Let parents reject or accept. National Union of Teachers. Reverse fee hike or risk explosion in out-of-school children. Atiku tells Tinubu. Moving on from that, on page 6, we have after 56 days in captivity, our children may not return to schools. 5 die in Cross River landslide. This is on page 6. Notorious bandits commander Kachala Yellow killed in Zamfara. Commercial motorcyclist excretes 100 wraps of methamphetamine. Troops kill ISWAP cameraman. Identify Palestinian trainer, Moroccan doctor. On page 17, we have oil cartels, tanker operators, enforcement agencies blamed for Apapa Kirikiri gridlock. Moving on from that, on page 8, State Police, Tinubu's masterstroke against insecurity. U.S., Iran renew hostilities as Tehran shuts Strait of Hormuz again. Flood, NEMA seeks partnership with Nigerian Army on disaster response. On page 9, Serap sues INEC over claims APC government allegedly diverted 800 billion naira for campaign. Truck carrying large consignment of drugs intercepted on Lagos-Calabar Coastal Road. Police arrest 43 suspects, rescue 6 kidnapped victims. On page 10, we have Lagos government signs 4 PPP concession agreement. Afe Babalola bags law doctorate in U.S., Canada. Still on page 10, Osun government polls. APC deputy government candidate Adeleke clash over religion. On page 11, Obi can't defend his record, says Umahi. New platform targets a safer protein supply chain. OT directs immediate rehabilitation of Ironsi's alma mater. NBA Spidel hails judgment on police lawyers. Moving on from that, we have on poverty, no Abia Central student should quit school. On financials, on the finance guardian, I beg your pardon. On the financial vanguard, bank/lending caught 5.4 trillion naira across key sectors as agri, finance, others attract fresh loans. Why Akara and Kulikuli trap always succeed. That's on business. Moving on from that, moving on to politics now. 2027 ADC youth warns against manipulation in the South. Edo to spotlight electricity reforms at AU Summit. Edo local government poll, APC wins in all chairmanship, councillorship seats. Federal government vows crackdown on procurement fraud. All on target wider energy access as impact reaches 2 million. On page 16, Black Weekend, family of 9, 18 others killed in Benue, Plateau State. 2-month-old baby among those killed. Youth storms Monarch's Palace with corpse, demands government action. Atiku, Mark Dati, urge education investments to secure Nigeria's future. No governments without consultation, demilitarization, the Nigerian government. We'll now take a commercial break and continue from there when we come back.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys.
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria.
Coleman!
Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Welcome back. Now on the sports segment, Nwabali returns to cheaper United 5 months after exit. Ugochukwu joins Osimhen at Galatasaray in 47 billion naira deal. Nigeria wins 2026 ICC Rexona Creole Cricket Festival. Morocco cash in with record $58 million from 2 World Cup campaigns. Flying Eagles, no foes for AFCON qualifiers. On the back page of the sport, we have Senegal fires coach following Belgium defeat. FIFA targets millions from sale of pieces of World Cup final stadium pitch. And that's as much as we can take on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. We'll bring you the weather report, and when we come back, we'll be seated with our guest for the interview segment.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, this morning we will be talking about the rescue of Orire abductees. Yes, it's been jubilation galore since the news broke out a few minutes to 7 p.m. on Friday when we heard it was reported that the children, the abducted children and teachers were released, and all of them were rescued alive. And of course, the president also expressed his immense elation at the safe return rescue of the Orire abductees assuring criminals would not have a breathing space in the country. The president appreciated the security agencies for their efforts in securing the release without payment of ransom or hostage swap. And that has also been generating a lot of, talks, whether ransom was paid or not. And of course, we've heard it from the president, we've heard it from the higher authority. Meanwhile, security forces rescued all kidnapped pupils and teachers in Orire local government area of Oyo State. After 56 days in captivity, the military and the Department of State Services, DSS, conducted an intelligence-led operation that resulted in the arrest of 8 abductors and the neutralization of several others with 0 ransom paid. To do justice to this conversation this morning, we have a public affairs analyst, Mr. Sumbo Badejoko. Good morning. Good morning. It's good to have you.
Good morning, Funbi. Good morning, Florence. Good morning, our viewers.
56 days after the abduction of the pupils and teachers, eventually, it was victory at last for your state and Nigeria. Let's walk through the moments first, the 56 days, and of course, 8 weeks after, what changed?
Walking through the moments, I think the right way to start will be to pay a kind of last respect to those who paid the supreme price in the course of the operation, because not much is being said about them. The sensation was just too overwhelming, and nobody's talking about the fact that a Lieutenant Felix Isaac died in the operation. His name was echoing because he's the most senior officers. A few hunters also lost their life. Some Amotekun guys were wounded. One is still in the hospital as we speak. And these are some of the casualties that were recorded in the operation. Of course, the teacher that was shot while they were attempting to kidnap, and the one that was also beheaded. We cannot forget all these people just like that. Because yes, we are happy that the remaining victims were all rescued alive, unscratched. That is the development, and it is a rescue operation.
Indeed, it was a rescue operation, but
yes.
I think we should also analyze the situation, the rescue operation itself. We saw videos, we've seen a lot of videos circulating. The Nigerian Army has come out to make a statement, and of course our heart goes out to the family, loved ones, and of course Nigeria as a whole. The fallen hero, the lieutenant that died during the rescue mission, we really commiserate with his family members and of course the Nigerian Armed Forces. But looking at how the operation played out, some people are of the opinion that it took too long. We saw a lot of, during the rescue operation, hundreds, I would say hundreds of soldiers headed towards the national park to rescue these victims. Do you think it took too long, for the operation to have been carried out, or it happened at the exact time it was supposed to have been carried out?
I've been privileged to be here to speak on this same kidnap twice. This will be the 3rd time. And a lot of information out there are coming from ignorance perspective. It happened in the whole of your national park. For the records, that park is bigger than Rwanda. Rwanda is a country. Imagine a scenario where some hostages are held in the heart of Rwanda. How many soldiers do you think would be deployed to rescue them, not knowing the exact location? How long do you think it will take for them moving at a point in vehicles? They have to now come down. They even move inside rivers. It was a difficult terrain, and they had to be tracking using radar and all manner of surveillances And of course, some native intelligence supplied by local hunters. Kudos to them too, because the operation wouldn't have been successful without their input as well. So those who are speaking, they are looking at it as Oyo State being a state in Nigeria and Orire being just a local government. What they do not know is that that forest transcends about 7 local governments across 3 states.
I mean, talking of the old Oyo National Park, how big it is. Yes, we are talking about the rescue, but moving forward, how should we start talking about securing that park? Of course, we do not want a repeat of what has happened. We do not pray to see a repeat of that. But of course, we also have to talk about how we will guard. How do you think, what steps, what measures do you think the state government should start putting in place to guard the park against having a terrorist using that park as a hideout?
Well, I'm not the military spokesman and I'm not the government spokesperson. But I can say authoritatively here that that is already in the pipeline. A military base has been designated for that forest, for especially the portion in Oriri local government. The personnel are there. And if I'm not mistaken, the state government had already mobilized mattresses and some other welfare items that will make them comfortable. What they now need to do, which will not happen overnight, is development of structures and infrastructure for the personnel to now use. Now, the base is a welcome development. There are other things that I believe will still be put in place. And one thing is to create an economic activity around the park, within the park and around it. It has huge tourist potential. We need to look at the tourism aspect, how that can be converted for tourism purpose. The Maasai Park in Kenya is used for that. And it's about the same size, if not even bigger than the Maasai Park, because Kenya is a smaller country than Nigeria. Now, that is one thing that the government should now be looking. The federal government may be too occupied because there are so many other things that they have to choose. But the state government can, since it's domicile, work with our state government and see how they collaborate to have that park being designated for tourism. Then outside of the park, the terrain that now belongs to that government have full control over, because all parks are under the control of the federal government. And that's part of the problem that really led to the
talking about parks being under the control of the federal government, you would also agree that state governments also have a lot to do about it. Because when issues like this happen, it becomes a serious headache for the state government.
I'm telling you why it appears as if state governments are kind of incapacitated, and why these criminals are taking advantage of that confusion in the law, because the land is domiciled in the office of the governor. But when it becomes a park, when there are resources underneath, that comes now under the jurisdiction of the federal government. So that's a conflict on its own. And these are what the criminals now, or the bandits, this was even terrorists, because it's the Ansaru group that have now been identified as the ones behind. And Ansaru group is an affiliate of the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization. That's the #1 in the world. So, even though Osama bin Laden had been killed, they've splitted and are now operating in other pockets of locations globally. And unfortunately, wherever you find problems in a particular location around the world, you see their fighters volunteering because they know they are not going to lose out. Whatever they get in the environment where they are based becomes their spoils, and they've now developed in Nigeria this idea of kidnapping people for ransom, and they use the ransom money to further sponsor their operations. So that's what we've been having, and that's why it seems that the problem is not going away. But kudos to the government for the change in taxes. I did mention that the last time I was here, that when the curfew was declared, that it signals a change in taxes. And we have seen the result of that. Because you cannot continue to pay ransom. When you do that, you are sponsoring indirectly the terrorism. And it's not going to go away. Because every little person out there with criminal tendencies will begin to get creative. And that's why you see kidnapping even in cities going side by side that of the mass kidnap, which are organized by the terrorist organization. Now, there will be a change in trajectory because we're only talking about the Orire rescue. There are other, even before this one was completed, through intelligence, they were able to get the locations of the relatives of those who are holding these hostages, and even made a video to them. If you kill anyone, your own family in our custody will also kill them. You know, that has a way of helping the operation, and those are the tactics that were deployed. And it's a joint venture. For the first time in the history of our fight against insurgency, this is the most coordinated because all military agencies, are including the Navy. I told you they have to traverse river paths. The Air Force was giving air surveillance. The Army was fully on ground, not just a unit of the Army, but the counterterrorism police were involved. So and of course, I told you, the local hunters, the vigilante volunteers, they were all involved. Amotekun was not left out. Amotekun only drew back when it became a full-fledged military operation. But they were still monitoring from the rear. You understand? They were able to identify the supply chain. I told you, even from the video, you can tell yourself that this is not a territory that can easily be secured or tracked, especially when they don't have any tracking device on that can be used to pin their exact location. It was the area surveillance that was relied heavily on. But they got there, but navigating to the exact part undetected, because earlier detection by the terrorists will signal threats and they may migrate to another place again where they have to start searching all over. For at a point, the forces will have to go, traveling like 3 kilometers from one of the units. They have to turn back and follow another route because the one they were following initially was not leading to anywhere. So that's why, and I expect people to review the situation on their own, learn and see how complex Nigeria is, how big this country is. A lot of people just say all manner of things on social media from the point of ignorance. And they think the government is lying to them. Yes, they've lied a lot. And the public trust is not there for now. But once in a while, there's what is called benefit of the doubt. Be given it. If not for the sake of any other person, but for the sake of those who are risking their life to go into that place. You cannot do it. You understand? And you do not expect the commander-in-chief, the president, to be the one leading in the forest. We are not in a military. Even in military regime, we do not have that. Gowon was in Lagos throughout the Civil War. It wasn't in the battlefield, but he took the glory for winning and uniting the country. Lincoln did not fight in the U.S. Civil War. He was there in Washington, monitoring the situation. You understand? But people need to understand that everybody has responsibility and constitutional role to play. And as citizens, too, it took efforts from some of my colleagues, including myself, to be persuading people that tune down the emotional level. It's not helping them, it's distracting. And those teachers that went on strike, we have to these are things that the terrorists want you to do. We got our own backlashes, but we knew that we were saying the right thing.
So are you saying teachers going on strike at that moment was
what
the
did
wrong
they
call?
achieve with? It was a wrong call. We said it. That is what they want you to do. It's a decision born out of emotion.
But apart from the decision being born out of emotion, they are seeing it as a solidarity movement for for teachers, for their colleagues. It was just a cry for help. Didn't you see it that way?
You can do that without a strike. You understand? That can be achieved with them mobilizing to the government office, carrying placard, and then a day event is already in the news that they have done something. They're asking, now, do you know the effect of that on the pupils? Becker exams are to be postponed. The strike did not consider those writing WAEC as at that time. Do you understand? So even Chibok own too happened during WAEC time. It's about this period in time. You understand? It was only those in that environment that were affected. It didn't shut the other schools in Borno State. No. And the Borno teachers, we did not hear that they went on strike. These are some things that we know, emotions would make us to take irrational decisions. So that's what's irrational. They have their reasons for doing it, but when people now begin to speak against it, that you can't. And I want to really appreciate the governor of Oyo State and the president too, because it was a very tense moment for him. And he did one thing that a leader is supposed to do. He displayed courage by not yielding to that emotion that is being thrown out there. Not that he wasn't feeling it. He was under immense pressure, but he did not show it.
All right. Mr. Badeduku, we have a commercial break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
And the best student in basic digital literacy is Jadin Okoro. Very good. And the best student in kinesthetics is Jamil Lawal. The best student in robotics is Tiara Kolawole.
That's my dad! Hey! Oh, that's my dad!
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
All right, welcome back. It's still AM120 on BCOS television, and we're in conversation with Mr. Sumbo Badijoko discussing the rescue of Oriri abductees. And before we left, we were talking about schools and the teachers.
I mean, commending the state government for how, it did not allow emotion. But beyond that, or still on the state government.
Talking about the governor, not the government.
The governor, yes, and his reaction towards
the courage
the activities,
it is put up. You understand?
Please go ahead.
That is commendable. Because that's the way to do it. That is why the military guys and all the security forces that partook in the operation, that force keep urging them on. I knew there was a situation room that was set up specifically for this operation where he monitors, get daily reports on a daily basis. I knew there was a time he had to be induced before he could sleep. These are things that people do not know, but those who can throw insult out there, our leaders don't really, when they are under pressure, you think they don't feel it or they are not human, they are robots. So you can continue to, it doesn't work that way. And that's why the one we were trying to argue about concerning the teachers going on strike. Yes, they were emotional. You understand? But the question remains, what was achieved with the strike? They resumed back before the rescue. So that is what I'm saying, that it will still have, the best thing they could have done is just to go, protest, move out on the streets, lend their voices to the thing, keep praying, encouraging those who are out there on the field. If you are really passionate about it, why don't you invade the forest yourself? At least you have enough number that. So those are things that we say, and of course, some parents too. Of course, your own children is not kidnapped, but you consider, you don't have to allow fear to now be creating more things, because these are people. This operation was planned for more than 2 months, according to information that is now declassified. Some people trying to politicize it that the governor declared in the morning they kidnapped. Those are nonsense. You understand? It was a terrorist operation. You don't plan it within a week. So they couldn't have known that the governor is going to make declaration on that day. So it was just a coincidence. So, if the governor has said that, those who advise him to say so are his enemies, and he should sack them now because they were not helping him. They are giving him a bad PR.
But don't you think it was a thought-through statement coming from the government?
I said it is not. You don't play politics with human life. Federal government have been doing this. Governors in the north have been doing it. We have been accusing them, talking that it is wrong. We shouldn't start it here. You understand? The reason why this thing was so tense is because it's the force we have in Southwest, and we don't want it again. And thank God the police have launched an operation, Kosayi, meaning, don't come here, stay away. You understand? So that should now be extended to your state, because we need to prove that there is really Kosayi. And every one of us now, the government should leave politics. Security has nothing to do with politics. It's a governance issue. And that's why when you begin to play, you would end up embarrassing yourself. That is a negative PR for the state government to have said that. It's wrong. And for some other politicians saying the governor was behind it, these are nonsense. With all due respect to them, they are elderly people, they are statesmen, but when our elders make mistakes, we hold it is a responsibility on our part to also let them know. Speaking truth to power. What is wrong, and too wrong can never make it right.
Talking about politics and security, I know this is not a new conversation we've been having. And of course, seeing all that has been playing out in Nigeria in terms of school kidnappings, abductions, and the likes. Now, how do we make sure that we do not keep talking about politics and security, putting them side by side, especially when we start talking of human lives and security and protection of Nigerians?
It is the politicians that are politicizing it. The media can help. That is what I'm doing here. Staying away from the politics side of it and focusing on what it is, security matter. You understand? That is what it is. And it's a governance issue. You understand? It's a governance issue. And what government need to do, what they are doing currently that is good, we commend and encourage to continue. What they are doing wrongly, we speak to it and ask them to stop it. And what they are not doing yet but must do, we speak to it so that they know that, okay, this is a direction that we should follow in the times like this. Yes, Nigeria is going through a phase. Every country that is great today in the world had their own moments. This is our own moment. I'm sure we would have definitely overcome, because it's a dark cloud that will fade away. But we shouldn't now forget our identity in the process. You understand? And to those who follow politicians sheepishly, you need to have a brain of your own, a mind of your own. Because they don't love you more than they love themselves. And Nigeria belongs to all of us. Nobody is more Nigerian than the other person. So we should now be thinking patriotism as the way to go. Nationalism as the way to go. And allow politicians to do, in as much as they are not a partisan politician, let them, they will do the way they do, but don't follow them sheepishly, so that you not be misled and you not be an enemy of your own friend in the process. Because they are friends to each other. Despite the fact that they abuse themselves in public, they still marry their children to each other, they still frolic together, they do all manner of things together, outside of government.
Is that not to talk about Nigerians also and our mindset? You know, when we talk about politicians pitching Nigerians against themselves, yet we see these things happening. You know, sometimes we see videos surfacing online where some of these politicians who to the world are opposing parties, but behind closed doors, they are friends.
Yes.
You see videos laughing.
You know, they are now
What's that to speak to the mindset of Nigerians and how we do not, you know, maybe speak to ourselves or live in our reality?
The set of people that are being used are the ones that we have to appeal to. Content creators, social media influencers. Those are the two categories of people that the politicians are using at the moment. So we need to appeal to them that, come, you may think you are making money, but you are helping to destroy the government of the country. You can do your content from elsewhere, but the audience that is giving you the traffic, once that audience is dispersed, no more traffic for you. You need to understand and think deep You may be enjoying it right now, but it's not going to last forever. Create content on nation building. Create content on good governance. Speak to all of them. They are the same. They are the same. You understand? And that's why I don't follow any of them. But I will not come to any platform and now be pretending or wear the garment of an hypocrite. I'm not going to do that. You understand? And that's why when I find myself in the midst of critics and activists, and you are speaking to government policy that is okay, and they are attacking you, I'm not moved by the attack. Because you cannot expect me so that I will be good in your sight to be calling white pink when it's obviously white. I'm not going to do that. You understand? You may be meeting me for the first time. He knows how blunt I can be if I want to be blunt, and I'm not afraid of anybody. You understand? Because some of us have to decide that, we have no other country of our own. I don't have an international passport as I speak, so I don't have any country to run to. I only have one citizenship, Nigerian. You understand? So I'm not going to listen to one fellow that is out there, maybe he's having dual citizenship, or another one that have residency permit of another country, that when it happens today, before evening, is already in another country. You understand? I'm not going to allow that one to pollute my own mind or spoil things for me.
All right, Mr. Badejuku, we have a commercial break, and when we return, we'll talk about the those released from the abductors. We'll be right back. Please stay with us.
And the best student in basic digital literacy is Jadin Okoro. Very good. And the best student in kinesthetics is Jamil Lawal. The best student in robotics is Tiara Kolawole.
That's my girl! Hey! That's my girl!
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here. You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vence 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
It's giving apple. Introducing Triple Chips Apple Flavor Gum and Lollipop. Get yours today. Triple Chips, so mega fun. It's giving, it's popping. Triple Chips Gum Filled Lollipop.
All right, welcome back. It's AM120 of BCOS television. And before we left, we're talking about...
We're appealing to the influencers who are causing damage and not building the nation.
I want to talk about the effect, the psychological effect of this incident on the students and the teachers. And I want us to also talk about the students that were left behind, their pupils, because everybody has been talking about rehabilitation for those that were abducted. But it's like we are leaving out those children that are in the community. I want us to talk about that. What should we do for them too? What are the things that are in place for those people that were left behind, which is a good thing?
Let's start with the victims.
Okay.
Though while the operation was going on, unknown to many, some things are being done to prevent that from happening. Relief were getting to them, courtesy of the government. They allow some channels.
And I think we should let this be known also, because so many people have come out to talk about analyzing videos. A few days ago, we saw I think 2 weeks ago, release of those abducted in Ekiti State. That was in April. We saw how...
I saw that.
How they looked. Their physical state was not good at all. And it was taken side by side with those released from the Oriri abduction. And people were saying, were these people really kidnapped? And I think we should talk about how relief items was passed through to them, and
well,
of course by the state government to make sure
we
they were
cannot
also in
go
good
into
condition.
the details of how.
Of course, we cannot go into the details, but it's also important, for people to understand and to note that the state government also, of course, had it in mind to cater for their well-being, for their welfare while they were in captivity.
Each of the operations are not the same. That of Ekiti was just a random thing. This is a full-fledged terrorist attack. You understand? And that's why government have to mobilize every asset available at their disposal, and was heavily coordinated centrally. And they knew, because this is the first time toddlers will be kidnapped. It was strategic on the part of the terrorists. And in fact, the elders that were kidnapped specifically because they know they will be needing people to babysit them. And that was the role they played throughout. The woman will still tell her story, the little she can. You understand? She may decide to write a book in future. Someone may decide to write it for her and be published, because the story will be told. She has to tell her story, but not now. So the channels were created deliberately. It was meant to ensure that the welfare of those hostages is taken care of. 2, to distract the terrorists so that they would not focus on the element of surprise will not be detected in the rescue attempt. Let's leave it at that. Now, to the psyche. That was meant to prevent what is called post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's why when they rescued them, the first point of call was the hospital. They have to be examined physically, clinically. They will still do some psychological examination for them to understand their state of mind. You understand? Especially those teenage and the adults among them. But for the toddlers, they have the highest recovery rates. To them, they don't even understand what had happened. You understand? We would have, of course, teachers were the ones with them. They would have been giving them some playway, just to help their psyche while still in that captivity. You understand? The baby was being attended to. Someone was backing and doing all of that. So that was part of the operation. And I did say the last time that it was an hostage situation. And that was why I had to give you an analogy. That imagine some people were kidnapped and put in the center of Rwanda, the whole country. Because most people don't know that the forest is bigger than Rwanda. You understand? And that's a country of about, I think, 3 million population. Now, imagine, that's why I asked people to imagine that from the beginning. And now, also imagine how personnel that is not up to 10,000 will go into a place that can accommodate 10 million people conveniently and now go and rescue 56 people. I mean, 44 people. You understand? It's not going to be that easy, especially in a forest without infrastructure that could enhance surveillance. They have to be relying on the ones they will pick this. They create makeshift drone station that was changing location. What they did was to first map the entire area. Okay, let's comb this place. Then once they are done with that, they move to another portion. That was why it took 56 days. For those who do not know, who were just listening to the politicians who are playing their own game, they saw an opportunity in the whole thing to bring down the government and come up. That was what they saw, and not really caring about the thing. Like the one that visited Oyo State to come and meet the governor and granted an interview, say all manner of things. He has not spoken on the rescue. That is to tell you the caliber of people that people are following, to tell you what is going on in their brain and the kind of person they are. You understand? He's not spoken on the rescue till now. And he came like someone that is really concerned, showing sympathy. And you understand what I'm saying? That is people for you. That's politician. And that's why Nigerians should know that we are on our own. These politicians are ruling class together. They don't care about us, just like Michael Jackson says. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. They don't care about us.
But now, if you say all you want Nigerians to know is that they are on their own, we are all on our own. But security is in the hands of the government. Should we start? Are you proposing we start protecting ourselves?
It is true. If you see something, too, say something. You saying something, the government does not have control of your mouth. They can only secure the parameter. They cannot secure your bedroom. You would see to that. So we say security, that's a larger scale. You understand? In security management, it's what we call a whole society approach, meaning every single person, including if there are robots there, they are all involved. So these are things that we need to know as citizens. We can also be our brother's keepers. We need to help each other. You understand? And having that at the back of our mind, we cooperate. And on a final note, I want to urge everybody, I'm going to do it. If you see a police army officer today, you encounter them on the road, give them a handshake, if you cannot salute, so that they will be encouraged that, yes, people appreciate what they are doing and not just castigate and cast them down all the time.
All right, thank you so much for that insightful conversation. Mr. Sumbo Badejopo, a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll go on a break.
Before you go on a break, please allow me. Today is my wife's birthday.
No,
I need to wish her a happy birthday.
We say happy birthday to your wife.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back after this break with our second guest. Please stay with us.
Excuse me, ma. This is your 100% human hair.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair?
Since your landlord just increased rent, I saved for this one separately on money points.
Ma, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here, the array of hair dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is this savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact. So
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
What's up? Why did German won't contribute to you? Where should they? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You know, go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you choose. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points app now. Even you. What are you waiting for? Download the money points app now. Hadaku, wow, open money points account too.
Money Point, made for your progress.
Thank you very much for staying with us. Yes, we're still talking about the rescue of Orire abductees. And of course, it's been a conversation on the lips of every Nigerian. We have our second guest in the studio this morning to do justice, to continue with the conversation. He is a security expert, Dr. Adekunle Okunola. Doctor, it's always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Especially when we have to talk about security. And you would agree with me that it's a joyous moment for us.
Oh, yes, it is.
In Nigeria. And of course, let's not forget Ogbomosho.
Yeah.
We saw videos. In fact, our reporter, our correspondent in Ogbomosho, when he sent a video that particular Friday night, it was jubilation galore virtually everywhere in Ogbomosho. And we are happy, you know, those families are reunited with their, the abductees have been reunited with their families. But beyond that, let's analyze the incident, the rescue operation. Was it really a rescue operation, a negotiation, or another intervention?
Thank you very much.
Bearing in mind that, of course, the presidency has come out to say no ransom was paid.
I want to, first of all, congratulate the governor of Oyo State, for this great feat. It's a great feat. And I want to congratulate the president of Nigeria, Nigerian Army, and the people of Oyo State, and especially the families of the abductees that are now rescued. It's a good day for us in Oyo State. It's a good day for us in Nigeria. And this is a landmark in our fight against terrorism in Nigeria. There is a statement, I'm going to read out the statement that I believe will echo and will remain for us for a long time. And this is the statement. I'm quoting, Oyo State is not Chibok. We will do everything humanly possible to bring our children back. Those were the words of the governor of Oyo State 3 weeks ago. And one should not deny him his due recognition. I want to salute the courage of the governor of Oyo State, in the whole of this. There were things that couldn't have been said, when the rescue operation was going on. But thank God it's over now. And I'll be able to say some things about the rescue and about the attack, Because if whatever I want to say now were mentioned, prior to this, it may have affected the rescue operation because they're confidential information, So we thank God. We really thank God. There's a controversy going on, in the public domain about whether they were released or they were rescued. They were not released. They were actually rescued. They were rescued because there was no ransom payment and there was no negotiation. Nobody was used in exchange of anybody. This is an operation that cost Nigeria vis-a-vis our military a lot. At the early stage of it, a lieutenant, I've forgotten his name now, coincidentally was being buried the day the children were released. That was on Saturday. Friday, yes, it was being buried. A police officer died, and so many other Nigerian army members, either lost their lives or were maimed, and 8 of the terrorists were apprehended. They are with the DSSS presently, and all others were eliminated. There was none of them that escaped. That was not a release. That was a rescue, a tactical rescue operation. Now, what was it that makes this abduction very unique in the history of Nigeria? Like I said, it was a big feat. The abductors were not bandits. The abductors were Ansarul members, an affiliate of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is the #1 terrorist organization in Nigeria. And they did that tactically, choosing Oyo State as a base for that because they wanted two of their main leaders that were arrested by DSS last year. The number one person that was arrested was Abu Bara, whose real name is Abbas Mukhtar, who was arrested on the 8th of May, 2025. Then the second person was Abubakar Mahmouda, whose real name is Abubakar Haba. He was arrested on the 27th of July, 2025. After the arrest, members of Ansaru made different efforts, in order to ensure the release of their two main leaders. And what they did initially was that they started attacking, government apartments where they believe their leaders were being held. And one of the places, that they attacked was in Wawa. Wawa was a highly sensitive military detention facility in Niger State. All right, but the attempt was foiled. So after these attempts were foiled, they now tactically resolved, and say, what do we do next? And what we need to do is that, to attack a base in Nigeria that will, affect the presidency so much. All right. And so they chose Southwest for two reasons. Number one, Southwest, that was where the president is from. And number two, because, social media usage in Southwest is very high, higher than any other part in Nigeria. So that was the main reason why they chose Southwest. And so they chose, Oyo State because of the terrain, the government reserved forest that expand from Oyo State to Kwara State, then to the north. That was why they tactically chose, Oyo State. And so the attack happened. And when the military, this operation started about 45 days ago. It was a huge operation, and the base of the operation is, number one, they want to contain the abductors. They want to identify the abductors. They want to encircle the abductors, and they want to eliminate them.
So that was why it took.
That was why it took, because a lot of people are saying that should it have taken a long time? Somebody was comparing, a U.S. Man that was apprehended in Niger and brought to Sokoto, and in 5 days
It was
rescued. That was quite different. That's an adult, and that man was an asset to the United States. Has got so many information that if they allow him to stay there for longer time, is going to divulge the information, and so they had to come. But here we have children, here we have toddlers, so it's a tactical operation that you want to rescue the hostage without any casualty, and so that was how it took a long time. And what the military did was that they were able to identify all the abductors one by one. That's number one. Number two, the DSS began to look for the relatives of the abductors. Their fathers, their wives, their mothers, their brothers, their sisters. And they were moving from state to state all over Nigeria, from Oyo to Kwara to Nasarawa to Kano to Kaduna, Zamfarawa. They were picking all these relatives of the abductors. And what they did was that, as the abductors were releasing videos that we were seeing, all right, that, we're going to kill another person, the military were also making the video and sending the videos of their relatives to them. Kill any one of those children or any one of those teachers, we have your relative, your wife, your mothers, we're going to eliminate them. And that one incapacitated the abductors. You know, there was a time that the principal came up and said, they've told us that they're going to kill another person. They couldn't do that because they knew that the military, was having their own relatives, which was a huge breakthrough, for the DSS. And that was going on. And as that was going on, the military was blocking all the, channels of escape. They were blocking them, that they were encircling them. And they did that to the point that, the abductors had to abandon the hostages and ran for their lives. But as they are coming out, they are coming out to face the bullets of the military. That was how all of them, were killed apart from the 8 that surrendered, that were apprehended. So it was tactical operation and it was a rescue operation. It wasn't a release.
I really, based on your analysis, in fact, it was, running us through a step-by-step operation of how it all went down. Now, I was thinking when I saw the release by the soldiers, the army, talking about how they picked some of their relatives. And it felt like that was used as a way of, they use their family as a bait for them.
That's right.
You would think, for these terrorists abducting other people's children, other people's relatives, family members. So they had theirs. They wanted to protect theirs.
Yes.
And you had other people abducted.
And you want to kill them.
What's to talk of the mindset?
The mindset of a terrorist is not the same as, yours or mine. They don't care about human lives. They have no value for human life. That was why they could, gruesomely kill that maths teacher, Oyedoku, and put the video on social media for everybody to see. The mindset of a terrorist is that of a killer. They do it with joy. It doesn't really mean anything to them. Human life does not really mean anything to them. They place no value on human life. And that is why in tactical operation, you don't negotiate with a terrorist, because once a terrorist is always a terrorist. You understand? You don't pay ransom to terrorists. And that was what Governor Seyi Makinde said at the onset, that no, I'm not paying a dime to terrorists, because every time you pay ransom to terrorists, you have financed terrorism in Nigeria. So I'm not going to do that. So because they do not value human lives, that was why the DSS went ahead secretly. It was highly technology, that was deployed here, and nobody got the wind of what was happening, apart from some security expert that knew what was happening, and we couldn't say anything at that time because it's going to foil the operation. And they were picking them. Kill any one of these, see yours with us, we are going to kill them. All right? And so that incapacitated them. And that was the bane of everything that happened. And they started treating those children and the teachers well. Somebody was saying that, I was listening to Lunloyo, and the daughter of former governor, and said, I was coming with lawyer, that there was no rescue. Look at those children. See how fine they are looking. Comparing to that of Ekiti, look at it. No, this was different scenario. That of Ekiti, all right, the abductors had nothing to lose. So they could treat the abductee anyhow. But in the case of this one, the abductors know that if they maltreat any one of these, my wife is with you, my mother. And so I believed that one of the things that the military ensured was that a channel of welfare to those children, even while they were there,
while they're in
captivity, feed them well, let them have access to medication and things like that. That was it, that when they came out, they were not really looking as people that are just coming out from a jungle, because there was that channel. There was nothing that the military told them that they were not going to do. And that tells us that even when you are going to negotiate with bandits, with terrorists, do it at the point of strength.
But if we could reach them,
yeah.
Why is it that it's still it still took as long as it took. Like the channel, they
hadn't reached them at that time, but they provided a channel wherein the welfare could be taken care of. You know, all the way they were being
sending food and stuff.
Food and
when they're sending food, can't you just like put tracker in it and, you know, send it so we can pinpoint the location instead of moving from post to post like you said we had to do to cover ground.
In every military operations, there are rules of engagement. And in the rules of engagement, you have to ensure that there is no casualty. In this instance, like you said, we have 1 year, 3 months old child, 2 years, 5 years, 6 years. You understand? If they deploy any other means apart from putting pressure on the terrorists for them to abandon them and leave them, you know, it could harm the children. Somebody was saying that, why don't you use what the American used in getting out that man? What America used was that they used tranquilizer, you know, everybody slept off and they came and removed their own. You understand? In deploying tranquilizer, you know, what the weight of an adult will take is quite different from what the weight of a child will take. So if you put the dose of an adult in the child, it may sleep and die. So you have to take into consideration the persons involved. And these are children. So the best way to go about it is to put enough pressure on them after making sure that they cannot harm them. They can't harm them again because they have their own. And when the pressure is much, the military knew that they were going to abandon them and leave. And that was why it took that long.
All right, let's look at, okay, go ahead, Florence.
Yeah, I want to talk about another controversy that on social media. This Operation Safe Corridor. A lot of people are wondering, like, these 8 people that were arrested, why did they not just, like, end them with the rest of the bandits, of the terrorists? Why did they just, like, you know, end them like that? What they did was really, really brutal. So, and, you know, we have Operation Safe Corridor where we are rehabilitating them and, you know, integrating them back into the society. A lot of people are scared about that.
No, let me explain another thing about tactical operations of the military. You have not done well if, as a military, you attack a base of the enemy and you eliminate everybody without apprehending at least one person that you could get further informations about the operations of the bandits. You have not really done well. You understand? And in military, you know, it doesn't matter the offense. Once you raise up your hands in surrender, okay, you become prisoner of war. You become prisoner of war. You know, it is very, very unlikely, except in some very, very exceptions, that after raising your hand, you are still killed. When you raise your hand, that means you have surrendered. Okay, they are going to apprehend you, arrest you, all right, because they know that you're going to be an asset to the military in knowing more about the operations of the terrorists. So I believe the reason why 8 of them were apprehended was because, 1, probably they surrendered, and 2, they needed more information to, you know, prevent, you know, further operations. You know, proper prior prevention. I mean, proper prior preparation prevent poor performances. You know, proper prior, you know, prevent poor performances. So I believe that is what the military did, and it's going to help us. This is a great feat. It's going to help us. They've arrested it, had no choice now.
You mentioned earlier that while the operation was going on in states in Nigeria, if we have the names, the database of these terrorists, apparently they knew who they were. For them to have traced them back, why were we not proactive in the first place? Why did we have to wait for them to strike?
Do you know how long it took, you know, number one, for the the terrorists to be identified?
Was it well after they had abducted them?
It's after they had abducted them that they identified them.
Okay.
A lot of arrests was going on. You know, a student of UIA was arrested because he was found with the phone, you know, of one of the abductee. And that one led to another woman that was carrying food to them. And from that, they started picking all their apprentices. You know, it took a long time. And you don't want to pick a wrong person. So number one, the first thing to do is to identify who they are. And that was done through special drones. Right from day one, the military was monitoring, you know, the position of the abductors. They knew where they were, you know. Even though they were moving from place, they followed them. They knew where they are. That's number one. They identify all of them, went to the database and begin to, you know, identify their family members to pick. And you have to you have to do this, you know, in the dark. That's the language used in the military. You have to do it in the dark. It must not be open to the to the public, because that will foil the operation. So it's something that is done secretly, and it takes time. And everybody arrested, you know, had something to do with the abductors.
So is Nigeria now looking at the new face now in battling terrorism? Are you going to say we have like
this thing has always been there.
And kidnapping?
No, these things has always been there.
So why do we have cases where there are no rescue?
That's why I read the phrase made by the governor. He said, Oyo State is not Chibok. Oyo State can never be Chibok. We will do everything humanly possible, all right, to secure the release.
Doctor, so are we now going to say Oyo State, the release is an isolated win? The Chief of Army Staff has actually called Oyo State one of the most peaceful regions.
Yeah.
So does this release mean, you know, an improvement in our security architecture, or an isolated win?
It's an improvement in our security architecture, but it also tells us about the determination of the head of government, that is the governor of Oyo State, who is not willing to take anything less apart from the release of those children. He said that we are not paying ransom and we are not, you know, negotiating with any bandit, all right, but we are going to get the abductees out. And he worked secretly. At a time, he was the only person that the abductors were speaking to. So they don't want to speak to another person apart from the governor. So he was getting information. He was relating with the military. So and all these information helped the military, you know, in the operation. You know, so it's an improvement in our security architectures, but it also tells you about the determination of a governor compared to some other state governors that have agreed to be paying ransom to the terrorists.
Doctor, before you move on with you know, that comparison, let's also, I want us to talk about Borno State, for example. On the said date, May 15, when these children were abducted in Orire, in Borno State, 42 children were also abducted.
They're still there.
And they're still in captivity. Few weeks after, a few weeks ago, there were also reports of 37 children in Borno State who were writing NECO examination. In fact, with some teachers, some people selling things around the school were abducted. Until date, there is still no report on those people. I want us to talk about, look at, you know, the North now, focus on the North. The security architecture in the North. The operation that was carried out in Oyo State, why have we not seen that heavy operation in the North?
The mentality, you know, of the people of the Southwest, especially Oyo State, is quite different from the mentality of the people in the North, especially Borno State. Okay, every time I visit the North, I wonder, you know, that at this age, how will a mother release a 4-year-old son, 5-year-old, 10-year-old, you know, to our almongeries? You see them on the street, line up in 50s with a small plates in their hand